Very good morning to you all. Today's session is on high jump. Considering the age group, it is 14, 15, 16, and up to 18 years, in which age the event is introduced among the children for a specific event choice. So in this group, I thought it will be better not to give any educative lectures, and it will be better to go directly from the field and a video for 1 hour different training and technique sessions. But due to Corona problem, it was not taken place due to cameraman and editing problem. I got a very short and brief video recording for 24 minutes related to, it is for approach, takeoff, and bar clearance phases, all technical phases. I have not introduced any training part because it will be very lengthy. So only mostly I have concentrated on the technical part. That short video for 24 minutes, it will be in the second part. But first part, I like to share my views in some PPTs. So regarding that one, in high jump, as you know, the rules of the high jump is there will be 2 uprights, and with a crossbar, the high jumper has to go for a takeoff with a single leg and cross the crossbar without knocking down. This is the basic rules of high jump. But this basic rules is constant for a long time. But if we watch the technical part, how to cross the crossbar, this technique part has a revolutionary changes. If we see from the beginning and introduction of the event in the 19th century last and the 20th century beginning, when the sports became a globalized platform through Mr. Coubertin's effort in the 1896 first Olympic, then the high jump was a very simple form. It was a very, if you see this, it was a very simple form, and the name of this technique, when the jumpers are crossing the crossbar in a seizure condition, the name was seizure. The upper body of the jumper is remaining very vertical, trunk is very straight, and crossing the crossbar like a seizure. So this technique was named in India. It was a kaichi jump. We were knowing it. We are telling it. हम लोग इसको kaichi jump बोलते हैं, like crossing the crossbar like a seizure. So there is no mechanical advantage in this technique. It was not lasted for a long time. But if you see this technique, you will find this is not a simple technique. It is having a very good relation with the Fosbury flop technique in later on. I will discuss with this one how this seizure jump having a direct correlation with the performance of the Fosbury flop. And after that one, in the beginning of the 20th century, this technique not lasted for a long time. Very few years, it's supplemented by another technique. It is called Eastern cutoff. In Eastern cutoff, the upper trunk is a little bit closer to the crossbar, and the crossing of the crossbar, it was very similar to the seizure jumps like a kaichi. But this technique also not lasted for a long time. Up to 1912, this technique has been replaced by another technique named Western roll. If you watch this technique, this is a folded leg, and sidewise slipping condition over the bar. But here the jumpers are getting little advantage. They are parallel to the body over the crossbar and getting the CG almost closer to the crossbar while crossing. This is providing some advantage in crossing the crossbar. This technique from 1912 to 1936, Berlin Olympic, this technique dominated nearly 2 to 3 decades. And in 1936 Berlin Olympic, John Thomas from USA, he cleared the height of 2.07 meter. And that was the world record in that time. After that one, in 1936, another technique introduced in the field of high jump. This name is straddle technique. which is little bit of more economic in comparison to the Western roll. Now, this technique, after introduction, after 20 years in 1956 Melbourne Olympic, this technique has given a height of 2.15 meters. And till 1956, this technique was dominated by USA people only. After 1956, this Melbourne Olympic, a certain change and twist came, and the Russian bloc came out with a huge performance. Valery Brumel, one jumper, he is the most talented jumper. He started to dominate another few years after 1956. Till 1960 to 64, Tokyo to Rome to Tokyo Olympic, these 4 years consecutively, this Valery Brumel dominated the 4 years and got a gold in 1964 Tokyo Olympic. And by this time, he made 4 world records. And the bar raised to 2.15 to 2.23 first, and then 2.28. So this technique was widely popularized in that time, and everybody of the country, almost all the jumpers are following this straddle technique. But in 1968 Mexico City Olympic, there came another twist in the high jump technique. One USA, Mr. Dick Fosbury, shown the world first time in Mexico City Olympic, crossing the crossbar in a different way, showing the back to the crossbar and without watching the crossbar, making a body a certain movable in a circular path and making a good arch. He crossed the crossbar, and the world first time watched this, the different methods of crossing the crossbar. This is a revolutionary changes. In that competition, all the participants in the final were following the straddle technique, but only alone the Dick Fosbury shown this different jumps technique. So what was stunned with this technique, how it is possible, and what is the benefit of it? All the experts of the jumps, they were started to research what will be the better. Is it straddle technique or the Fosbury flop? Now, by this time, one jumper from Russia, he is Vladimir Yashenko, raised the bar height from 228 to 233 in outdoor competition, and in indoor competition, he raised the bar to 2.35 meter in straddle technique. Then straddle and Fosbury flop. Now, both the technique were in a dilemma. Which technique will be better, and which technique is going to dominate further the era in high jump technique? So a lot of research has taken place, and lastly, in 80s, all the experts came to know that Fosbury flop is the better technique in many aspects in mechanical advantage. So by this time, the technique of high jump, it is popularized, the Fosbury flop throughout the world, and the end of the era of straddle technique after dominating 4 decades from 1936 to 70s. Now we'll look what is the main purpose of following this Fosbury flop? What is the gift of Fosbury flop technique? What is the actual benefit of it, and which is not available in straddle? So if we see what is the main gift of Fosbury flop technique, it is mainly 2 things we got the Fosbury flop technique. It is first one, the back layout, and the second is carved approach. These 2 is the special gift by Fosbury by knowingly or unknowingly doing this technique execution by Fosbury flop. He contributed to the high jump event forever, and the last 50 years nobody has to challenge and came to replace this technique. So it's a great contribution. Now we'll watch. By this time, some research is also taken place in 80s. If we see in this technique, some experts were telling, if you go for a biomechanical analysis, then H1, the height of CG at the time of takeoff, that they are analyzed, the straddle technique is much better than the Fosbury flop technique. And their logic is the straddle technique will dominate for the other few decades. But as per analysis afterwards, not only which is the disadvantage at each one for the Fosbury at the beginning, but if we see in the latter part, the other parts of the technique of the Fosbury flop is unparalleled and much better than the straddle technique. Now we will analyze why this back layout, which is getting benefited to the athletes much more. What is the actual benefit in back layout? In back layout position, if we see the picture, when the jumpers are arching over the crossbar, the CG path, if you watch the CG path, it is following below the crossbar. CG path you are watching here, which is going on below the cross. Now, if you see this one, then you will find what is the benefit of this technique. If you see this slide, you will see the benefit of this technique. See, while arching over the crossbar, the CG passes below the crossbar. See this position. So he is getting a mechanical advantage, lifting his hip high, and even the CG passes below the bar. The mechanical advantage is the high jumper need not to lift his CG up over the crossbar. Even if passing the crossbar, also he is having the facilities or advantage to cross the bar much higher than this one. If you see this arching, there is a difference how much having the space to clear the crossbar. If you see this video, these fellows are not getting any more advantage in this. Their full body is lifted over the crossbar. Here also same, here also same. They are modifying little bit of, but here you see this fellow is not getting any mechanical advantage of this Fosbury flop technique. Much below the crossbar and body is fully higher than this one. So this jumper is not getting any benefit out of this one. And here it is clearly visible how this jumper is getting much more advantage in Fosbury flop technique. And this technique, how it is becoming, it is a simple modification of the coordination. As we know, when the jumpers are lifting over the ground, if the jumpers is off the ground in the airborne phase, in flight phase, the jumper's CG path is already fixed. We cannot change the CG path. Only we can do the modification of the segments, because human beings are multi-segmental element, and we have the arms and legs and the other segments are moving at the same time in a different direction. This modification of the and adjustment of the limbs and bodies, other segments, we efficiently we can manage this advantage of lifting the hip over the crossbar. It's a counteraction movement. If you see, after lifting the bar up to shoulder and below that mid part of the trunk portion, the jumpers, they are throwing their body down. The head is going down, and automatically legs are down and heads are throwing down. Automatically middle part of the high jumpers area, that lifted up. What is happening in this condition? He is getting a free space below the hip. In many area, he is getting a free space. This area, if he is efficient enough, then if the bar is like in this area, he can easily cross the crossbar, and this 10 to 15 centimeter additional height, he or she can be benefited out of it. So this is the main advantage of this technique. Now, this is performed with the efficient coordination that needs a huge technical practice, and this will make a efficient one to clear the crossbar. If nowadays many experts are telling no need of going on a much throw of this upper body and making a good arch over the crossbar. We can cross by any means. It's a natural way of crossing the crossbar. Technique is now having much influence on that one. So this controversy is there, but in my opinion, if they are doing that one, then they are not getting any mechanical advantage, the Fosbury flop, which the advantage in true sense that is not they are getting. If you follow this technique, you will understand if this fellow is not bending his body, is not throwing the head deeper, so he is not getting the advantage of lifting his hip over the crossbar. This deficiency, it is not permitting him to cross the crossbar in a higher height. But whereas if you see this picture, he is getting this many amount of space. You see this more than 10 to 15 centimeter, he is getting a nice space to clear the crossbar. And if the bar could have been here also, he could have crossed the crossbar efficiently. So in comparison to this clearance, this Fosbury flop technique is getting more advantage of the higher height crossing. So I will suggest to go for a proper head throwing over the crossbar when it is an adjustment when to throw the body. What the jumpers are doing when they are lifting their shoulder level and below the shoulder level, they were, when crossing the crossbar, they were vigorously thrusting and trying to go for a very faster head throw downwards. So naturally hip is lifting over the crossbar, and this advantage should be exploited, and it is exploiting by the efficient jumpers. And if you see the present high jumpers in the current days also, if you see Bondarenko, then Mutazesa Barshim from Qatar, all the jumpers, if you follow Igor Paklin, the earlier days and recent days, this Stephen Holmes of Sweden, Patrick Sober, all these fellows, when they are lifting the crossbar over height, over 240, they are jumping in a higher height, they have to compromise their body over the crossbar. So it is better to suggest to go for a bar clearance efficient technique, and it will be followed some drills I have already shown in the in my video. You can watch a little bit of many more drills are there, very few are selected. Anyway, this is the mechanism of bar crossing over the crossbar. Now, what the other benefit in this Fosbury flop technique, the jumpers are getting another advantage after takeoff when they are lifting the body. If we follow, then you will find that what they are considering, after take off the body when leaves the ground, in Fosbury flop technique, their body is remaining vertical. They are getting more time and space to lift their body vertically upwards. They can accelerate their CG vertically upwards. But in the other events, other technique, the jumpers are after takeoff, immediately they are going for preparation of bar clearance and throwing the total body over the crossbar in a parallel condition. They are getting less opportunity or the space or the scope to lift vertically their CG, because they are crossing technique is a little bit of different. And this Fosbury flop technique, this advantage is there. After takeoff, the jumpers are able to lift their CG and they accelerate their CG towards the vertical direction. Much more time and space they are getting. These benefits are giving in the Fosbury flop technique. Now, this is all about the bar clearance mechanism. Now, the other gift of approach run is where it is this curved approach. Another gift of Fosbury flop technique is curved approach. We'll see the curved approach, how it is benefiting to the jumpers. Approach. If you see these two slides, you will be watching that in other technique the approach is in diagonally, and if it is a right footer or left footer, whatever it may be, and they are getting a very short approach distance. They are limited to 5 to 7 or maximum 8 strides, and with a 8 to 10 meter space. Their approach is very short. They are initially 4 to 5 strides, and the last 3-4 strides they are accelerating and getting takeoff and crossing the crossbar. But if you consider in phosphoryflow, there is a huge space of accelerating body, and their length of the approach is much more wider and longer. Their strides pattern also much more longer. They are longer, number of strides also more. Normally, the number of strides for the for the men, it is 10 to 12 strides, and the women, it is 8 to 10 strides. That will be followed. Okay, how this benefits this approach run to contribute much higher jump in phosphoryflow. This jumper, the main benefit of this one is the carved approach. This carved approach will benefit how it is. Okay, when the jumpers are entering into a carve after getting a momentum in the initial stage in straight line, when they are entering into a carve, they are automatically developing a centrifugal force. This force pulling away from the circle. When the path of the running, the jumpers are running with the path, the force, when they are entering into the carve, this force acting to the jumpers to throw away outside. This force is named as centrifugal force. And the jumpers, what they are doing, they are counteracting this force with leaning their body towards the center. This force is acting, its name is centripetal force. These two forces, centrifugal force, which is pulling outside, and centripetal force, which is pulling inside, these two forces counteracting, and the jumpers in maintaining a certain space and certain curve in a circular path in a steady running. And when at the end of takeoff, when they are lift off, they are off the ground, the body is in airborne phase, then the jumpers is not getting to lean the body with the support of the surface. The body is not leaning towards the center because they lost the surface. The body is in airborne phase. When the body is in airborne phase, the body comes under the universal law. This comes under the under the law of this projectile. The path will decide in a trajectory. So this phenomenon, what happens? When the centripetal force, inside force is off, then the centrifugal force is only acting the body. Now this force is helping to clear the crossbar. So this is efficiently the high jumpers are using this centrifugal force to cross the crossbar automatically, not by like the other jumpers to make an personal effort to go for clearing the crossbar with the effort of their own body mechanism. But here the approach itself is giving a facility to cross the crossbar with this natural force acting on the body. This is the main gift of the phosphoryflow technique. Now the question is, how will fix the approach run? How many strides are taking normally? They are having a lot of variations in taking the high jump approach. How many strides it will be? It is normally the best combination is 5 plus 5. 5 in straight and 5 in curve. Now this combination is followed by a great jumper, Nam Jinhua. He's from China. He was the Asian record holder and also the world record holder in that time. He was ideally following this technique 5 plus 5. 5 in straight and 5 in curve. Now when the body is in curve, the body has to go for a little bit of modification in the curve approach run, the curve area. So this is the efficiency, how it will be doing. Now, how many strides will be, this will be decided by the jumpers. How much he will be able to accelerate his speed and to convert the momentum into a jump. If the beginners is there, it is suggested to go for only 4 plus 4 stride. 4 stride in curve and 4 stride in straight. And it may be they can start with the 3 plus 3 ratio also, 3 in curve and 3 in straight. But for the moderate one, to this 15 or 16 years boys, they can use this 4 plus 4 stride pattern, 4 in curve and 4 in straight. But the international jumpers, the matured one, they are taking longer. It may be 10, it may be 11, it may be 12. Some combination is, it may be 5 plus 5, it may be 6 plus 5, it may be 6 plus 4, it may be 6 plus 6. Those who are longer approach, they are able to control the momentum at the end. They are taking a longer approach. Now there are for the beginners, there are a few style to start the takeoff. Somebody starting with the standing start. They are taking a standing posture and then start just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and jump. And some approaches that they are following, that is run and walk start. They are taking preliminary some walking strides or running strides and making a check mark here and hitting the check mark and then setting the rhythm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and jump. Some other methods also followed in this sentence. One skip and following the jumping rhythm. But another second method is also there. This type of technique is a second type of technique, is preliminary strides followed by a bounding step and then followed by a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strides pattern, or preliminary strides, 1 bounding step followed by a 7 stride pattern, or preliminary strides, 1 bounding followed by a 8 strides pattern. A lot of international jumpers, they are also following this bounding type jumping start and then following the rhythm. Now they are this jumping, this running approach, there are 3 parts. If you analyze, you will see the beginning part of the approach. It is the fast acceleration phase or the drive phase. It's 3 to 4 strides. They are fast acceleration phase. The body is leaning forward. The jumpers are developing the speed horizontally, and then slowly when the entering into the curve, they are trying to maintain 3 to 4 strides here in between, and the last 3 strides, which is the second acceleration phase or specific preparation of takeoff phase. This phase is most important because with this phase, the jumpers are getting or converting to go for a good takeoff, and this good takeoff will go for a good jump. So this phase, these last 3 stride is called says the specific preparation of takeoff phase. Here, the last stride is called the takeoff stride, and this earlier stride is called this penultimate stride. Normally, what is happening when the jumpers are approaching towards the crossbar, then these penultimate strides, they are normally it is longer, 20 to 30 centimeter. It is a little bit of longer, and naturally, what's happening? The body little bit of going down. The CG location of the CG path of the running is going down. Why it is going down? It is helping to get a propulsion of the body or the propel of the body at the takeoff. Any body movement when they are going lifting, then they have to go a little bit of downwards by this CG. Then it will benefit it to go for a lifting. So these things happening very naturally, but the beginners need not to force and encourage. You have to run this one. That will come very naturally, and the jumpers will automatically come to know that the penultimate is going a little bit of longer, and the takeoff stride is getting a little bit shorter and faster, and this is naturally happening. So not to say the jumpers or the beginners, you have to do these things. Let them jump very naturally, and this phenomenon will occur automatically. They will come to know. Now this phase, if you see in the slide, then you will find that there is this takeoff phase. Now this is the last phase. It's this coming in this posture. Now, if you see this Heike Henkel, this one, this is a West German jumper. He's a very renowned jumper, and she was the Olympic champion in Barcelona to 1992, and then world champion, then European champion. She dominated for more than 18 years in the sports arena. And if you see the running action and the last stride, which is the takeoff stride. In the takeoff stride, you see both arms are well behind, body is very straight. If you see this posture, you can easily find that this action is prominently the shoulder joints, the hip joints, knee joints, and ankle joints. That's coming in a straight line, almost a straight line, and body is in a very favorable posture. So this is the preparation of the last part. That means takeoff strides. What is takeoff stride? Takeoff stride is the last strides of the total approach run. So these jumping, the technique in takeoff strides, there are a lot of variations, and we'll follow that that technique. Why, when the jumpers are placing their body for a good takeoff, they are leaning towards the inside of the center and the body remaining towards back. Why this back placing? This will facilitate to go for a vertical lift at the time of takeoff, and to achieve the centrifugal force when the bar is going to cross. So this is the last stride or the takeoff stride, body position. This technique, her technique, is a little bit of ideal technique in comparison to the others. Lot of they are having lot of variations in other jumpers also. Even the world champion also, if we analyze, then they will get a lot of variations in the technical part. Even in Mutazis Barsim, who cleared 243 in recent days, who is very closer to break the world record of Javier Sotomayor of 245, he is also having a technical fault in his over the crossbar action is so beautiful, and raising the hip is so nice, and he is compensating the other weaker part. All the jumpers having some drawbacks. She is a very great jumper. One of the she crossed 2.05 meter her best, and if you see, she is also deviating the approach part before last stride, in the penultimate stride, when the right foot hitting, which is away from the crossing of the line. If you see, which is deviating, and the hip deviating towards the center. This should be little bit of straight, but she is doing this thing to make her body in a favorable position. So this technique, it's a very individual part, but the basic concept of the juniors have to focus on this part. When they are going for the last stride of the approach run, means the takeoff portion, the force line should be very straight. And what will be the action? She is little bit of double arm action. See, in takeoff area, a lot of variations of arm action also. There are 4 types of arm action. If we see the arm action, you will find there are main 2 variations is the alternate arm action. Alternate arm action also having 2 variations. One is running arm action, one is single arm action. And in double arm action also having 2 variations. One type of double arm action starts last 3 strides onwards, the 3rd strides onwards, and one double arm action varies from 2nd stride, penultimate stride onwards. So we are not able to focus on the beginners of this arm action and all these things. This is the analytical data, but when the beginners will try to go for the takeoff or the last stride of approach, they will be doing as their own pattern, as their own likings, and this will decide. Lot many jumpers are there, they are very successful in single arm action also, and lot many jumpers, they are very good in double arm action also. So it need not to force anybody else, any jumpers, to go for focus on arm action and all these things. Let the jumpers naturally develop their ideas what the arm action will be, and naturally in the latter part that will be automatized, and he will be much more comfortable with these facilities. So this is all about the last part of approach. And if you see here, if you see the analyze, when the body is sliding a little bit up at the last strides, in takeoff strides, body is leaning how much, and leaning with this, he is counteracting the centrifugal force which is pulling outside, and the centrifugal force which is keeping lower with the CG towards the center. Now this will act to go for a vertical lift. At the time of takeoff, body will go straight. If you see this one, after the end of this picture, if you see, the body is lifting. Here the body position this much of leaning, but here the body is directly Siddha lifting. This pace it is getting at the time of takeoff. So in this portion also, if you follow, then this will be clear. What is the benefit of the leaning, and this how many, what is the degree of leaning, that is depending on the speed of the jumper. And the Q value, there is a formula, Q is equal to V square by R. V is velocity and R is the radius of rotation. Now, this is normal, it's happening 10 to 30-degree inclination, while in the entering into the last part, the inclination is nearly that degree. And it is very normal in approach run. So which is the approach and takeoff part. Another part we have forgotten, we have to discuss is how to draw the approach. This question normally comes. How to draw a curve. Circle running, the curve running, the main question it comes, most of the jumpers are asking how many, how we'll draw this curve, this arc. There is no certain a plus b whole square formula in this drawing this curve. So there are a lot of difference, lot of experts are calculating in many areas, many ways how to draw this curve. So there are individual differences, but mainly the drawing curve differences, it goes depending on this, mainly on speed, then body structure, stride length, takeoff foot direction, angle of the takeoff foot, and the number of strides in the curve, and the habit also. A lot of factors depending what will be the suitable curve for a jumper. Now, the suitable curve drawing, I think for the beginner, no need of considering any specific measurement or calculation, what will be radius of rotation. We have to forget all these things. What we have to do, we a simple method we have to follow. What number of strides the jumper is comfortable to run in curve. In the beginning itself, the beginners will struggle to run comfortably in the curve, because the curve strides running is a little bit of difficult. Now what will be happening in the curve, when they are entering this number of strides, it may be 4, it may be 5, or it may be 3. So according to, it will be placed in such a matter. It may be it is a 3 stride, or it may be a 4 stride. What will be the comfortable curve he or she has to run in a trial and error method, and he has to chalk out, he has to point out the point, where is the curve point, where is the point the curve starts. Then when he is or she is getting the point of curve, then what he or she has to do, he has to measure from first stride to 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever footsteps, or in a measuring tape, you have to measure this point. And from this point, he has to measure this distance. So you are getting this x-axis distance and then y-axis distance. Now, if you get this axis distance and this axis distance, you can mark this point. So you got this starting of the curve, this point. And another point, the reference point it requires is the takeoff point. What will be the takeoff point? For the beginners, it is suggested the takeoff point will be from the first uprights. From the first uprights, you take 40 to 50 centimeter, maximum 60 centimeter. Matlab it is lesser than 60 centimeters, means 2 feet. Lesser than 2 feet distance you have to take. Suppose it is 50 centimeter or 40 centimeter. If it is 40 centimeter for the beginner, it is well and good. Or if it is 50 centimeter, no matter. Then from 50 centimeter, what you have to do? There's 50 centimeter along with the broad. And from this point to this area, it may be 60 to 70 centimeter, nearly 2 feet, 1 stride. You can roughly less than 1 stride here and approximately 1 stride here. Then you are getting a point in this position. So this may be the takeoff point. So what is the main idea? 50 to 60 centimeter or 40 centimeter along with the crossbar, and from crossbar to runway area is 60 to 70 meter. You get a point here. then you got a or one arm distance. If you stand here and if you extend your arms towards the crossbar, you will get a distance approximately one arm distance. This is the suitable point. If you get the suitable point here, the takeoff point and the starting point of the curve, if you are getting these 2 points, the starting of the curve point and the takeoff point, now you got this point, these 2 reference point. When you are getting these 2 reference point, the starting of the curve and the takeoff point, then if you are getting the starting of the point as per earlier discussion, you get this measurement and fix the point. Now, if we draw a tangent from this angle at the takeoff point, then you will get a distance and making an arc, and from this reference point you get a tangent and perpendicular distance. You measure this one, and this will a cutting point, it will come, and this will be the radius of rotation. You can easily find out what will be the radius of rotation on the reference of your starting point and the takeoff point. These 2 points is the reference point. You have to draw a tangent here and you have to draw a tangent here. If you are drawing a tangent here, you will get a distance of radius, and you have to draw an arc, and from here you have to draw an arc, and you will get the crossing point, the cutting point will be the center point of your arc, and this is the radius of rotation, radius of your curve will be drawn. This is a simple method, but for the beginners it is better start with 1, 2, 3 strides here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, or if you go for a longer strides, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strides, and walking strides, and make a point and draw a curve. These are the simple methods to be followed, and a lot of formula also there. There is a formula R is equal to V square by C, where C is the constant, and a radius will be directly proportional to the velocity of the approach. Lot of formulas other also there. Recently I have seen in the app that one formula they have introduced. If you put the number of strides in the curve and the average mean distance of the stride length, and then what is the angle of the foot placement and the distance of this x-axis and the y-axis, matlab distance from the bar alongside and the foot distance. If you put these values to the formula, they are suggesting what will be the running radius of this one. But these are all developed to assess this one in many aspects, in many percents, in a different way. But I don't think so. This needs to be confused, and the approach is completely individualistic. It is completely the individual choice, running style, running technique, running speed, running rhythm, the habit, the comfortness, all these factors will come, how the approach curve will be. So all these factors to be considered for the curve ones, drawing the curve. So my suggestion, not to be very much focused on this radius, how to draw. It's a comfortable method is go for a trial and error method. Day after day, if the jumpers are practicing, they will naturally, he will develop a stride pattern. What will be the number of strides in the curve and how to draw it, and to maximum exploitation of the momentum at the takeoff. So this is the basic idea. Not to be, it isn't suggested not to be confused with these one methods, because every expert's having a different methods they have introduced. So there is no hard and fast rules and formula so far introduced in the measuring of the curve or drawing of the curve. This is all about the high jump basic ideas, and some tips I will suggest to go for following the beginners. When you will start for the practice, then it's better to run steady, tall, and relaxed running in approach to be followed, and focus on smooth running rhythm. Fast in a beginning stage, you have to go for a running rhythm, and then 4+4 stride pattern is better for the early stages, and slow to fast and gradually accelerate the running tempo with the proper rhythm. It should be developed, but the running rhythm should be gradually accepted, evolved. And this avoid maximum speed, use the speed which you can control at the takeoff. If you unnecessary maximizing the speed or the developing speed, it does not help because in high jump approach, it does not require a huge speed or like a horizontal jumps. It requires a control speed which can be converted into a jump, because the horizontal speed, if it is developing in the approach, that is to be converted in vertical one. So that control speed is very much important. Now do numbers of running drills in straight and curve running. In takeoff also, some suggestions. It is try to take a flat and faster takeoff to get the benefit of the impulse. You know, impulse at takeoff is very important. This should be very faster and a very short time. The time will be less. As the time will be less, the benefit of impulse will be more. And if you see the placement of the takeoff, it is the outer part of the takeoff foot is touches the ground first due to leaning of the body, and immediately the other part of the foot touches the ground. It is almost a slapping action, and this is suggested to do as fast as is possible. The takeoff foot is the takeoff phase. It should be the takeoff stride should be very faster and shorter. And this will help you, to develop the betterment of the impulse, which will benefit the takeoff action. Now reduce the over knee bending. The knee bending at the takeoff foot should be reduced, because it will develop the amortization phase. Our main target is to reduce the amortization phase. The downing of the body will provide some, it is a natural one, because the first phase of takeoff is touchdown, then amortization, then after takeoff. This amortization phase, the main aim is to reduce this one as fast as was possible, to complete this takeoff action with a less knee bend. And the second is keep a good body lean at the touchdown to place your takeoff foot ahead and along with the direction of your car. The touchdown, place your takeoff foot ahead. During the time of takeoff foot, the takeoff foot will ahead the CG path of your transportation. That means the foot will lead a little bit ahead of the body. And loop the bar while the takeoff. When you will go for a takeoff, you must loop the takeoff crossbar. Then when you will loop the crossbar, the body leaning will be maintaining. And second, then is keep your shoulder axis perpendicular to cross the crossbar, hip at 45 degrees at takeoff. Say at the takeoff time, if you see the other slides here, at the time of takeoff, the shoulder axis will follow with the crossbar. It is 90 degrees. Which is perpendicular, almost perpendicular. This is the crossbar, and this is the axis of the shoulder. The shoulder axis, it will be very perpendicular to the crossbar. And the hip axis, there will be a torque. Hip axis will be nearly 45 degrees. So there will be a torque producing at shoulder axis and in the hip axis. Shoulder will place at 90 degrees with the crossbar, and hip axis will place almost 45 degrees in the takeoff phase. And this torque will produce, which will benefit you when the swinging leg kick inward will happen, then body twisting or turning and facing the backward, that will help it. So this is suggested at the takeoff. What will be the position? This position will be the shoulder axis at the perpendicular on 90 degrees with the crossbar, and the hip axis will be almost 45 degrees with the crossbar. This is an important part. And this is all about an overall tips for the training. Keep the basic and moderate gymnastics drill as part of the training sessions. In training sessions, the basic and moderate gymnastics drills to be practiced regular basis. More emphasis on balance and coordination drills in training. Balance and coordination training, and the clearance of the crossbar is almost depending on the good balance and coordination. These drills should be included in the training. Low intensity plyometric drills may be introduced in training, not in a beginning stage, not for a high, any depth jump or high hurdle jumps should be avoided, and any additional load should be avoided in plyometrics in a very self body weight and a low intensity plyometric drills may be introduced. Running EBC drills may be included in the training for a good running posture. But because running is also a vital part for approach, it's a very tall running, throughout and smooth running it must be, otherwise the conversion will not be better, because the running, it is the main area which will lead to a smooth development of momentum and which will lead to a better takeoff, and better takeoff will ensure the better bar clearance. So this running, the primary action, the primary phase, it is says how much the high jump will be, that is decided itself in a running stage. Means approach will decide what will be the high jump clearance. So many expert coaches, they can understand when they start the approach run, watching the approach itself, they can understand how better or how the good clearance of the bar it will be, and how much height they can clear. So with this approach they can assess. So this is a very important part. And another suggestions in many areas, they are having in village areas, especially in district areas, we don't have the facility for high jump pit. We don't have much more facilities there, no synthetic track, no high jump pit, but they should keep on practicing a seizure jump, because seizure jump, I earlier told that seizure jump having a direct relation with the correlation with the first body flop. If they are very good in seizure jump, they will be easily converted to good first body flop takeoff, first body flop jumpers, because the relation is the first body flop. If a jumper in seizure, if it is crosses any height, he can add 30 to 40 centimeter in first body flop. If any jumper crosses 2 meter in seizure technique, then the jumper has the ability to cross the jump over to 30 to 40 centimeter. So if your international data also, it helps and it supports. If in Sweden, one jumper Stephen Holmes, he is jumping 2.10 meter in seizure, and he cleared 240 meter in his live-based jump. So at least 30 centimeter a jumper can add to his seizure jump technique. Why the seizure jump technique is important? Seizure jump technique is more similar to the approach of first body flop technique, and seizure jumps technique will ensure the better takeoff, which is important in the first body flop technique, almost similar takeoff and almost similar approach run, and almost similar the vertical lift after the takeoff, the body CG, the acceleration towards the vertical direction in seizure jump and in first body flop jump is almost identical. So this seizure jump will directly help to lift one's CG towards the height, and this is much more identical with this first body flop technique. So if anybody is in villages not having this jumping mat and all these things, so don't be worried. Please practice this seizure jump wherever it is possible. It will lead to a good jumps in future. In Indian standard also, I am telling Hari, when he was jumped, the Hari Shankar, the earlier national record holder, when he came to me, I have taken this jumper when he was crossing in a state meet 180 centimeter. When he crossed 180 centimeter in a seizure jumps, then I came to know that this fellow having a capacity, if he learns the first body flop technique, he can easily cross 180 plus 30 centimeter, at least 2.20 to 10 centimeter, matlab 2.10 centimeter, he can easily cross the crossbar, and he has done it within 1 or 2 years of the inclusion in the hostel. So this is very important part. So do practice in seizure technique if there is not having any ground facilities. So when he jumped now 195 in seizure, and he crossed almost 225 meters. So there is a direct relation. So this is all about the high jump session today, and we'll be following from some videos regarding the second part, regarding some drill sections regarding the high jump. So this is all about my theory part. Very good morning to you all, my dear friends, especially my young friends, those who are watching this session. I'd like to welcome you first, and then we are going to start our program. The session mainly on high jump. High jump event is so charming, so beautiful execution in it. If you want to feel that one, you watch this video.
TV 13.75 और वहां पर स्वप्न बर्मन चौथे पोजीशन में रहे और यहां से जितने भी पॉइंट्स कैलकुलेट किए जाएंगे, यहां से जितने भी अंक अर्जित करने में कामयाब होंगी स्वप्न बर्मन, उस हिसाब से उनका अंक बढ़ेगा और जो कि बाद में जब कुल मिलाकर अंक आने वाला है वो निश्चित रूप से कामयाब रहेंगी। दर्शक काफी उत्साहित नजर आ रहे हैं और दर्शक नजरें गड़ाए हुए हैं क्योंकि हर किसी को ये मालूम है यहाँ पर अगर अंक अर्जन करने में कामयाब रहेंगी स्वप्न बर्मन, निश्चित रूप से आगे चलकर इस इवेंट में विजेता बन सकती हैं। भारत की आशा कुल मिलाकर 3 पार्टिसिपेंट्स, 3 प्रतियोगी भाग ले रहे हैं इस इवेंट में और ये 3 महिलाएं हैं, लिक्सी जोसेफ, स्वप्न बर्मन और पूर्णिमा हेम्ब्रम। अब नजरें स्वप्न बर्मन के ऊपर, फिर से तैयार 1.86 मीटर और ये आखिरी मौका उनके पास। क्या कामयाब हो पाएंगे स्वप्न बर्मन? भगवान से आशीर्वाद मांगती हुई तैयार, दर्शकों को ये शांत रहने के लिए कह रही हैं, कॉन्सेंट्रेट करने की कोशिश, एकाग्रचित होकर यहाँ पर तैयार स्वप्न बर्मन, बंगाल की खिलाड़ी। स्ट्राइड पे आगे बढ़ती हुई गर्व के साथ, दर्शक उत्साहित और इसमें सफल। क्या शानदार छलांग! एक मर्तबा फिर से स्वप्न बर्मन के द्वारा। काफी उत्साहित खुद और दर्शक भी उत्साहित, दर्शक भी काफी खुश। बहुत ही बेहतरीन तरीके से वहां पर यह अविश्वसनीय 1.86 मीटर तय करने में कामयाब हो पाई हैं स्वप्न बर्मन। अब जरूर लड़ाई करने के लिए कोशिश करेंगे 1.89। और जिस तरह से रुपिंदर जी थोड़ी देर पहले बता रहे थे कि जो नेशनल रिकॉर्ड है हाई जंप में, वहां तक भी पहुंचने की कोशिश कर सकती है। बहुत ही शानदार। और ये जो आज का दिन है स्वप्न बर्मन के लिए और ये जो इवेंट है निश्चित रूप से बहुत ही बेहतरीन रहा है अब तक। 1.86 मीटर, बहुत ही बेहतरीन तरीके से। एक बार फिर से नजर डालते हैं स्लो मोशन में, एक्शन रिप्ले, कर्व लेती।
She is Swapna Burman, perhaps you all know. She is the Asian Games gold medalist last year, Asian Games in 2018 in heptathlon event. But her main favorite event is high jump. She was very fond of doing high jump. But you will be surprised to know that her height is only 161. 1.61 centimeter is a very short height for a international level high jumpers. And you will be surprised that with this height itself she has cleared 187 meter, means 26 centimeters above head height she cleared, and it is an international level performance. Let me to introduce myself. My name is Subhash Sharkar, athletic coach, Shah Eastern Center, Kolkata, and along with me my another trainee Sri Hari Shankar Roy. Perhaps you know him. He is a national level high jumper and international record holder also. His live best is 225 meter. He is Hari Shankar Rai.
Hi everyone.
So once upon a time he was a national record holder. He cleared 225 meter, and his best is 4th place in Asian Games. Narrowly missed a medal in 2006 Doha Asian Games. He got 4th place. His youth Commonwealth Games gold medalist held in Australia in 2003. Then he participated World Championship in Canada. He participated in Afro-Asian Games. He participated in Commonwealth Games 2010 Delhi, and then in Asian Games 2010. So he's a very renowned athlete. Now he left in 2012. He will be demonstrating some specific drills over the jumping mat. As you know, high jump having combination of two types of running actions. One in straight line, and then the jumpers are running into a curve. High jump approach is not like a long jumper or triple jumper in a straight line and developing a tremendous speed and getting a takeoff in a one direction. But high jump having a little bit of different type of approach. It combines with a straight line approach, and then the jumpers has to enter into curve. So for developing this curve running, it is little bit of difficult, because once a child is, or once a jumper is entering into curve, or anybody entering into a circular path in running, then automatically he will be starting to feel some thrust that body has to throw outside. This is happening very naturally. When a jumper is running in a straight line, there is no problem. But whenever it enters into a circle, automatically he develops a outside thrusting force. So in that time, it's very difficult to compromise this running action in a circular path, and in the same maintaining the same speed. So that's why it needs to develop some drills to improve this action, because high jump, after developing the approach in the stride, and if you are entering into curve in a awkward running movement comprising with the inclination towards the center, naturally what's happening, speed goes down. But it should not be. The jumpers has to develop maximum speed in the last part, and takeoff part will be maximum faster. So this will develop some feelings of in a circular run that will help you in a original J approach type running style. Now we'll be going for a actual some circular runs which relates to our high jump. Now he will be showing 8 running, English number 8, to develop a circular running improvement. Once more, starting from that circle. Now we are going for U running, English letter U. Now he will be following from the other side to develop our right side inclination running. Now he will be showing English letter S running. Now reverse. Now we are coming into the next, which is English letter J type approach run, which is most similar to the original high jump approach. Good. Once more. See, straight learning and then curve running. Now he will be showing where we are in a second phase, takeoff phase. So he will be showing how to do it. Okay, start. Once more. Now he will be demonstrating the same action with takeoff and then 180-degree turn. Now he will be demonstrating with a little developing rhythm. Now he will be showing 3 stride pattern, 1, 2, 3 takeoff, 1, 2, 3 takeoff. Start. Okay, now he will be doing the same action but in a 5 stride pattern. Now he will be doing the same takeoff action in an original approach pattern. He will be running with a J-type approach, he will be taking a takeoff and he will be landing in a straight on the mat. Same thing once more. Now here is the vital part. How the takeoff foot will place. What will be the direction of the takeoff foot at the end? Somebody is taking a little bit of away from the horizontal line, diagonal, and somebody is taking with the line, the curve it is passed through. The curve it is passing through, the foot placement also following the same direction. Normally it says 15 to 30 degree means the end of the outer part, the first end and the second end in between or the closer to the second end. The direction will be more specifically it will be on the direction of the curve line it passes through. Now we are in last phase to know how to clear the crossbar. Now we will be starting the first drills, clearing the crossbar with the help of a height box. Now he will be trying little higher height. Good. Once more. Good. Now what he will be doing? He will be doing the same bar crossing without the advantage of height box. Now he will be doing, with the help of height box, one stride takeoff, now he will be doing 3 stride takeoff and bar clearance. Now we will be going to 5 stride takeoff and bar clearance. A comfortable stride patterns, 4 in straight and then 4 in carb. I will suggest for very beginners not to go for any measurement with degree or any measuring tape or like that. Let the beginners jumps from a very comfortable zone, Let them run from any comfortable approach with a jogging pattern. Let them take off and throw their body inside the jumping mat without crossbar. Let them throw the body inside. Let them get the feelings of throwing the body over the mat, how it feels. And as they will be developing this pattern, then slowly you set a pattern, okay, 1 2 3 take off, and then 1 2 3 4 5 and take off. Accordingly you set an carb. Again, if it is smooth going on, it's a trial and error method. When it will come for specification, when they will be getting maturity, then they will come to know what carb will be suitable for them, because radius of carb depends for the matured one, for the internationals or the senior levels. This depends what is the velocity of your approach, what is the morphology of your body, what is the leg length, what is the habit of your approach, what is the maturity of your running. All these factors coming into consideration. But for the beginners, not to consider all these critical things. Very simple method you follow. Normally what it does, you can take from the uprights 1 2 3 strides, and then 1 2 3 4 5 strides. 3 plus 5, make a point, get a take up point, and then draw a carb. Very simple method. Now it is almost, we have finished. And now very fast we are summarizing the total sequence we have gone through today. As you already discussed, the major part is approach run, takeoff and bar clearance. Approach, fast, the jumper should be knowing. The jumper should be knowing how to run better, how to run taller, how to run steady, how to run relax. So these vital points the jumpers has to learn very fast beginning, and then he has to develop. We have done a wider circular running to develop a circular running, the counter movement actions for inclination, along with the inclination, how to run smoothly. That we have developed with a wider circle. Then we ran with a narrower circle with the same speed, and he followed that with the narrower circle. When it's entering into that curve, he's facing much more the thrusting outsides. This has to counter with the leaning of the inside of the jumper's body. Now we have next is shifted to 8 running, English letter 8 running, and then we have learned for U running, then S running, and then we came for J type approach running. So all these drills, why we have developed, we have to benefit jumpers how to smoother and smoother he can perform the approach in original pattern. So these drills will help them. So this is the approach part. Then we came to takeoff, and takeoff we have done in a 1 stride takeoff, then 1 stride takeoff and 180-degree turn, and then 3 stride takeoff and turn over the hurdles, 3 stride takeoff and turn, 5 stride takeoff and turn. Then we have followed J type takeoff and scissor jumps takeoff action. Now the last part we came for bar clearance. Bar clearance we have shown a standing flop with the help of hide box, then standing flop without the hide box, then with the hide box single leg takeoff and bar clearance, then 3 stride takeoff and bar clearance without box, and then 5 stride rhythm 1 2 3 4 5 takeoff and bar clearance, and then 4+4 approach running takeoff and bar clearance. So this is all about the total high jump overall learning sequence, you can say.